up, guys? Welcome back. I had an epiphany today at work, and I decided when I got home I wanted to get on here and share this with you. Now, for those of you who aren't into the Bible, I always give you this little disclaimer if you want to leave, but I have to touch on spiritual things because this, channel, part of the channel talks about lying serpent media. That serpent meaning the devil, the liar, the great deceiver, and how he used those to put out his plans and agendas to destroy mankind. But today I'm going to be focusing on something I touched on in an earlier video that's actually uploading right now. This video was Bernie Sanders and Representative ILhan Omar, and why Jews are bewildered at his support for her, seeing that those are two very extreme opposites ideologies. You have Judaism and Islam. So, but the focus today is spiritual warfare. You see, I got my camo on, but that's not why I'm dressed like that today. It just happened to be a coincidence. I'm getting ready to go do cardio, but before I go to do that, I had to come on here and share this with you. Now, yesterday I mentioned Bernie Sanders' time spent in the Hashmer Hatzer movement in Israel. This is a socialist youth group. I believe it's to indoctrinate the youth into socialism. It creates socialist Zionism. And if you listen to Bernie Sanders talk, that's what he's all about, socialism. Now, let's get back to this spiritual warfare and the reason I had this epiphany. Because there's a man, his name is General Albert Pike. If you don't know that name, you have to go back to Abraham Lincoln time. The Civil War. General Pike was actually on the Confederate South Side. And he had became disgruntled with President Jefferson Davis, because Jefferson Davis had disbanded the Native American auxiliary army that he had put in place to help fight the war. And the reason he disbanded them because of some atrocities that they had committed, under the guise of legitimate warfare. So General Pike, didn't like that. So he was open to a certain type of influence. So lo and behold, this is how the devil works. Giuseppe Mazzini, you know who Giuseppe Mazzini is? He's an Italian revolutionist. Okay, so he kind of influenced Pike to accept this one world conspiracy that's been talked about in these secret societies. There's a secret society within the secret societies. So Albert Pike is also known for writing Morals and Dogma. Now, this book is given to the 33rd degree of a Freemason. I don't know if they still do that, but once you reach the highest level, which is the 33rd degree, you are presented with this book. And this is the book that Albert Pike authored. But like I said before in the beginning, this is about spiritual warfare and Lucifer and his minions, trying to destroy mankind. And this is where Albert Pike comes in, and I just want Freemasons to know, if you happen to stumble across this video, I've had this encounter with Freemasons at work. I shared this information and those people didn't speak to me no more because they profess to be Christian, but lo and behold, they did not know they was in a satanic organization. Now, some people might say, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yes, I do. I studied into Freemasonry, looked at all the rituals and what was behind it. And it didn't take a genius to figure out, if you have spiritual discernment, God will let you know that something is not right and it is of the devil. But don't take my word for it. I'm going to let you hear that most revered Freemason General Pike speak and tell you what it's all about. So let's get into it. Okay, now how this ties to the video from the other day with Representative ILhan Omar and Bernie Sanders, because here he is representing socialist Zionism, and she's representing Islam. And Albert Pike had wrote a plan. See, he was a general, so he's good at strategic planning, but he's using his talents for the devil. So let's get into it right now. Again, I will be reading from Pawns in the Game, and this is in the beginning pages 15 and 16, and it goes as follows. Pike's plans was simple and has proved effective. Now we're focusing on World War III because this is where we at during this time in history. World War I that took place in World War II. Now I'm going to read those paragraphs just to let you know that what these people had put forth way back in 1894, 1895 came to fruition. So it had me thinking today about World War III. And when I saw those pictures of Bernie Sanders and Representative ILhan Omar next to each other, it just clicked, you know, with what this man had planned for World War III. So let's get into it. Okay, he said he required that communism, Nazism, political Zionism, and other international movements be organized and used to foment the 3 global wars and 3 major revolutions. The First World War was to be fought so as to enable the Illuminati to overthrow the powers of the czars in Russia and turn that country into the stronghold of atheistic communism. The differences stirred up by agenter of the Illuminati between the British and German empires were to be used to foment this war. After the war ended, communism was to be built up and used to destroy other governments and weaken religions. Now, do you doubt that that took place in history? You can go read about the czars and how, I think it was Tsar Nicholas, had abdicated the throne. Even after abdicating the throne, they went and slaughtered this man's whole family, little children and all, brutally murdered. So yes, that plan came to fruition. And they were also mad at Abraham Lincoln because Tsar Alexander II had told those bankers, you know, you threatened Abraham Lincoln, I'm going to send my ships, which he did. I think one had embarked in New York and one in San Francisco. So they was like, okay, time's going to come and payback is a you know what. So their words came true. Now let's get into World War II. It says World War II was to be fomented by using the differences between fascist and political Zionists. This war was to be fought so that Nazism would be destroyed and the power of political Zionism increased so that the sovereign state of Israel could be established in Palestine. Did that happen? 1948. Was that sovereign state established? Yes, it was. During World War II, international communism was to be built up. It equaled in strength that of united Christendom. At this point, it was to be contained and kept in check until required for the final social cataclysm. Can any informed person deny Roosevelt and Churchill did put this policy into effect? See, now we're talking on that history that you did get in history class. See, that's what I said earlier in another video about re-educating yourself. You have to go out and get these books because these men pledged their lives putting out these books, putting out this information, you know, getting poisoned, assassinated. So, you know, it's up to us, you know, to go out there and get these books and read them and let other people know what's really going on in the world. Now, here we are, our time in history, World War III. Now, remember what I said, socialist Zionism, and they used to use the word Mohammedanism, but we call it Islam, which is basically the same thing, 2 synonymous terms. Now, let's listen. World War III is to be fomented by using the differences the agenter of the Illuminati stir up between political Zionists and the leaders of the Muslim world. The war is to be directed in such a manner that Islam and political Zionism will destroy themselves, while at the same time the remaining nations, once more divided against each other on this issue, will be forced to fight themselves into a state of complete exhaustion. physically, mentally, spiritually, and economically. Can any unbiased and reasoning person deny that the intrigue now going on in the near, middle, and far east is designed to accomplish this devilish purpose? Now, he was talking about what was going on in the Middle East way back in World War I and World War II. And here we are today with the same mess going on still in the Middle East. Let me turn this page. Okay. It says on August 15th, 1871, Pike told Mazzini that after World War III is ended, those who aspire to undisputed world domination will provoke the greatest social cataclysm the world has ever known. We quote his own words. Now, let's listen to this diabolical scheme he wanted to put forth. It says, we shall unleash the nihilists, those who are totally against established laws and institutions. So they're going to unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which is in all its horror, will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will be from that moment without compass, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view, a manifestation which will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So you see, these Luciferians are using all these little factions, all these little groups to bring about a certain condition in the world so that the world would be under a Luciferian rule. Now, for those of you who do not believe what I said about Freemasonry and its satanic aspects, let's look at what Albert Pike said. Now, he is talking to those of the higher degrees, because, you know, the initiates of the lower degrees, the first, second, third on up, you know, it ain't until you get to like the 30, 31st, 32nd, 33rd till they start revealing to you, hey, look, just want you to know, yeah, we led you and kind of deceived you, but by the way, you're really worshiping Lucifer. But let Albert Pike tell you in his own words. It says, that which we say to the crowd is we worship God, but it is the God that one worships without superstition. The religion should be by all us initiates of the high degrees, maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. Yes, Lucifer is God, and unfortunately, Adonai, which is the name given to Jesus by Luciferians, is God also. For the absolute can only exist as two gods. Thus, the doctrine of Satanism is a heresy, and the true and pure philosophical religion is the belief in Lucifer, the equal of Adonai. But Lucifer, God of light and God of good, is struggling for humanity against Adonai, the God of darkness and evil. So you see, in the New Age movement, in Satanism, they got it reversed. The Almighty God and His Son, Jesus Christ, are the evil ones. And Lucifer is the good one, the one that caused the war to break out in heaven because he didn't want to go along with God's order in heaven, you know, jealous of Jesus Christ, you know. So we see how all this is playing out on this earth. And for those of us who believe and are believers, you know, I just want you to stay encouraged. And for those of you who have fell away from the faith, you know, hopefully I can encourage you to rethink your decision, because you have nothing to lose by coming back to the Lord. You have everything to lose if you, you know, walk away and stay in that condition. I know many people get, you know, discouraged by what goes on in church, you know, a lot of hypocrites. But I'm here to let you know that a lot of us experience the same thing. And what I've learned, because we're all, you know, sinful creatures, you know, falling short of the glory of God. But what I'm here to tell you is that's how the devil gets you. You know, Jesus didn't say follow his followers. He said follow him. So that's where we make our mistake. When we look at these pastors and all these other individuals that's, you know, held in high positions in church, and then do something, you know, very hypocritical. You know, you hear about pastors sleeping around and doing all these different things, or stealing the money in the church, or got the church, you know, buying them homes, big fancy homes and jets, and, you know, wearing luxurious suits and things of that nature, that is completely contrary to the way Jesus was when he walked this earth. You know, he was meek, lowly, and humble, you know, but yet you have these pastors that's, you know, promoting prosperity gospel and all these type of things. But I just want you guys to stay encouraged, you know, don't give up hope. And another thing that could, you know, give you some encouragement, I don't know if you ever studied Bible prophecy, but for a lot of people, they don't get into prophecy. You know, you will never lose your faith if you study those prophecies in scripture, because you will see that God is real. Things that God has spoken. For instance, Cyrus. When Cyrus conquered Babylon, you know, he had spoke his name 200 years before he came into existence. And did that happen? Go Google it. Go search it. Everything that God told Nebuchadnezzar about his kingdom coming to a fall, how Medo-Persia would come in, you know, Greece, and then Rome. All these things took place in history that God has spoke way back in time, you know, during 700 BC. You know, these things has taken place. So I just want you to be encouraged, you know, rethink your decision. And that's all I had to say, guys. I just wanted to share that with you, give you some spiritual upliftment, because there's a lot of negative voices out here in the universe, and depending on who you listen to, you know, it's not edifying you, it's not building you up, it's not encouraging you, you know, it's just keeping you in a certain state of mind. It's keeping your mind off spiritual things. You know, time is drawing to a close, you know, and we need to start thinking about that final destination, because we all have that appointment with death. You know, either we gonna see Jesus when he comes, or he's gonna wake us when he comes. So either way it go, I'd rather be in one of those two camps instead of being the one that's coming up in that second resurrection, which has no life but is death. Okay guys, that's it. Thanks for listening to me ramble about my little epiphany, and I hope I uplifted somebody. Thank you. Until next time, let's wake some more people up.